We will be using a database to store our links and also some metrics. Let me show you the database. I have it already. I have already prepared it. So these are the two tables that we will be using in our project. If I show you the first table, the links table contains an ID that will be the short ID of the URL. The URL that is the long URL, which is a varchar of 4096 characters. And there is a creation, means a timestamp that will be filled by the database engine as and when we will create our short links. And we have our history table that will contain all these data. So we have ID, that is the short ID, URL, the long URL that it refers to, source, that is the source IP from where the request is coming, creation is the creation time when the request has come, browser is the last five columns, the browser, device vendor, device type, OS name, OS version. These are the metrics that we will be collecting from each incoming request. So let's see how we can implement this in our project. This is a very simple code for the database connection that I have just shown. I'm using MySQL 2 as a dependency here, and here we are passing some parameters, that is the host, port, user, the password to connect to the database that we will be using, and SSL is set to false because of some internal issues of my pipe. Other than that, this is the basic setup. So let's continue. So we had done, okay, we have the basic base server ready. Now let's say we want to shorten a long link. That's our main goal in this project. Okay, so for that we will be creating an endpoint, a post endpoint, and yeah, as I had said in the first video, uh, there will be a front end as well as a CLI for this tool as well. That means you can use curl to shorten your links from the terminal. You don't have to mandatorily use the GUI. So for that we will create an endpoint API /create. This will be the endpoint used by the CLI users that will shorten the link. This will take two parameters, request and response. And yeah, because we are expecting some JSON data, that means if this is an endpoint that will be used by the CLI users and a post request it will accept, so the URL, the long URL will be sent. We are expecting the long URL as a JSON body. So for that, to parse that JSON data, we have to use a middleware of express, that is express.json. Now let's see, if I console.log request.body, the data will come in the body, and from the body we want the URL parameter. Let's see if this works. I will save it and I will run the project. Sorry, sorry, it will be npm, my bad. Okay, it's taking a little time. I guess yes, server is listening on port 3000. So as I said, this will be a terminal based approach. So let's first try it out. I will use curl to do a post request on my local host port 3000. The route is api/create. I have to send this header. That means I'm sending a JSON object here, and the data. The data is URL, and let's say cloud.starnix.in. Well, you can visit this site as well to learn more about Starnix Cloud, and if you want to avail the services as well, we have hosting and storage services. As of now, special services like databases and all can be made available on request. Yeah, that's Starnix Cloud. So I'll send the request, and sorry, it will be 3000, not 100. And okay, no data came. So we are expecting that, yeah, as you can see here, we received the URL. Now we have to save this URL. As I had shown earlier, that we have to save this URL in this database, in this links table as a URL, and we have to generate a short ID for this. Let's go back to the code. I will stop the server now and let's maximize it. Okay. The index.js part, this project is divided into multiple parts. As you can see here, we have database.js, we have index.js. So the index.js is the main file that starts up everything in our project, but database.js controls the database portion. Okay, and now we will use another file, that is a helper.js. We will create another helper file that will contain all other utility functions that we will be using. And for this video, the one utility function that we will be using is to generate a 10 characters long short ID for every URL. So how we can do it? Let's me close the Explorer, and yeah, let's create a file called helper.js. As you can see in the bottom here, I am creating this file helper.js from Vim only. Let's create it. Okay, so before using helper and making a function that will generate the IDs, we have to install a npm package called randexp. What this package will do, this package will help us in using regular expressions as a standard way, as a standard for generating those unique IDs. So I will just, I bet I will just take it here. I will just require this thing, randexp, and let's do randexp. And this part will take the, okay, I will just show you the documentation of randexp npm. I also myself forgot the exact syntax of this thing, but it's pretty straightforward if you can understand. Here it is, randexp and the regular expression that I want to use. So new randexp uh, backslash, there will be two slashes, and I want to use all from A to Z, A to Z 0 to 9 for the length 10. What this will do, it will, okay, let me just show you what this will do. randexp.gen console, I'm logging it on the console. So every time this, I will call this thing, it will automatically generate a 10 digit short ID, 10 alphabets, sorry, 10 characters short ID. It will randomly generate. So I can use this function, this feature, to create the short IDs. Let's say function generate ID, and you will just return randexp gen, and I will module.exports. Okay, by the way, you can use autocomplete in Vim as well. It's not that hard. Okay, so we have created our helper function. Let's get back to the database file. And here we will see the flow will be when we are receiving an URL, we'll send it to the database. The database will use the helper to generate the short ID and insert that short ID along with its URL in the database as we have the database we saw earlier. Let's do it. We'll use async because we don't know what time it will take. Async, there can be multiple problems. Async, let's say shorten, and shorten will receive the URL that we are expecting to short. Okay, before starting, we have to require the helper generate ID, but we require this. Then what are we requiring? /helper. Okay, so here we can just write that the short ID for this particular URL is generate ID. It will give you one ID, and now you have to put this connection dot query. We'll put this query in our database, insert into links. Let me see the name of the database. Yes, it was links, into links, ID and URL values, and we will use placeholders for this. And in the list we will pass the ID and the URL. The ID is the short ID and the URL is the URL. After this is done, we can just return the short ID. Okay, so this is the main shorten feature. Write it and save it, and now I will open the index file. And now as we were just taking this thing here, okay, so we have to also import the database. Okay, export this thing before importing, obviously. Module.exports. What was it? Shorten. Okay, we exported this file, and now we have to import this here. Shorten equals to require what /database from database.js. This file is coming, so we are taking shorten. Let's see. Const short ID against the requested long URL is shorten, and I will pass the long URL here, that is body.ur. As we have got the short ID, let's send this dot JSON, a JSON data as a response, because we are creating this route for the terminal users. We will send JSON data, that is short, or let's say ID is short ID, and URL, the original URL that they have sent, is request dot body.url. I hope this thing will work. Let's try it out. Yes, npm run start. Okay, until now it's fine. Let's go to the second clip, and I will just repeat these instructions on this command only. And if everything goes fine, okay, the ID is not coming. Let's see what's the issue here. ID is not coming. ID is being returned as a null string. Why? Why is it so? Okay, before let's go to the database. That means there is some problem with generate IDs only. Let's go to the helper. Okay, helper is actually returning your txp module.export generate ID, which is sent it properly. Let's say database. Okay, let's query this thing. If this log the result short ID. Let's see if it is logging it or not. If it logged, okay, it logged properly. That means the short ID is being returned. Short ID is getting returned. But then something is wrong. But where? Okay, let me not just make it async because I don't need it to be async right now. And for index.js, when we are expecting it short ID, we are getting shorted from database, and we are passing the ID and it's coming in short ID. We are sending the bot. Why isn't it working? Module.export generate ID. Module.export shorten. Okay, let's try it once. I guess this should work. Run start. Okay, now the ID is coming. So this is the ID that we are. So if I just generate multiple times, it will create random ID. There was some mistake, I guess, the code that we somehow magically fixed. Yeah, it happens actually. I just removed that async word and it worked. Anyway, that's okay. So now in this video, we saw how to generate this ID from the terminal. That is, you can use this URL shortener from the terminal as well. One more thing we can just create is add here. That is, instead of sending just the short ID, we can actually send a string in which, okay, let's keep it for now. We will do it in the next in any of the next video because it needs a little bit of explanation as well. So for now, we just shorten the long link from the terminal. In the next video, we will redirect a shortened link to its original link, and we'll also add some metrics to our all the requests. We will collect some data as well. So see you in the next part.